Hi everyone, my name's Jen. I'm from Nanity Way. We're going to make some really lovely looking earrings today. They're quite impressive. They sort of have this snaky shape. You can make any sort of shape you want out of them though. That's just what I've done. What we'll need is about 10 inches or 26 centimetres of 20 gauge wire, so the thick wire. About 3.5 feet or 2 meters of 26 gauge wire. So that's the really thin wire, and we're going to use that to coil around our sort of stem, the thicker wire. We're going to need a couple of beads. With smaller beads really work best for this. I've got a couple of 4mm beads, so I'm going to use about 4 in total. That's for both earrings. And about 12 2mm beads. So small ones, you can use any sort you like. I've gone for sort of a collection of sort of peacocky colours and clear. And of course a couple of earring hooks, which are really simple to use. So let's get started. So I'm going to cut our 26 gauge wire in a couple of lengths, and I do that just because it's far easier to work with. You'll find that working with a really large length of thin wire will get a bit difficult. So I should mention as well that this is one length of 5-inch wire, so we would have 10 in total, but I've cut it in half. So I'm going to start by coiling our 26 gauge wire around our thicker wire, our stem, and I'm going to do that fairly close to the edge. So just like that. You can see how you can actually move this up and down. That's the great thing about using this thin wire, is that it is so malleable. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm probably going to do about 20 times around. Okay, so now it's time to add one of our beads. I'm just going to flatten that down with my wire so that we don't have any, my pliers, sorry, so we don't want any sharp edges sticking up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is grab one of the beads. I'm going to thread that onto the 26 gauge wire. Like that. I'm going to hold that on the stem of our thicker wire. I'm just going to wrap it round once, one full rotation once, so that it's stuck onto that wire, and you can push that down towards the other end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring this wire round, and I'm going to wrap it a few times around the base of the bead. Because you can see how we've got this sort of look where these beads are sort of stuck in. They've sort of almost got like a bezel holding them in towards the stem. So I'm going to create that by wrapping my wire around. Okay, and then when I've done that a few times, I might go a few more times actually. And when I've done that, I'm going to go back to wrapping my wire around the stem. And I'm going to keep following this process basically until I get right to the top. So I'm going to go around probably about 20 more times. And then what I think I might do on this occasion is put 2 of our 2mm beads on it. So I'm going to thread those onto the 26 gauge wire. Just like that. And I'm going to do exactly what I did with the larger bead. So I've threaded that one once around, and then this time I'm going to go around the wire, the base of the beads again, just a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, until you get it looking the way you want. Okay, so I've wrapped that round. Now I'm going to continue on going around the stem of the wire, and you can see I'm sort of getting to the end of it now, so I'm going to cut another length of my 26 gauge wire and carry on. So I'll just finish that off, and just to make sure you get a nice neat edge, just make sure you use your pliers to really squeeze it down a little bit. Okay, so get another length of our 26 gauge wire. Okay, and I'm just going to find a place close to where I finished off and just keep wrapping it around. So you can see that you don't need any breaks in your wire, you just need to make sure you wrap it close to where you finished off. And the great thing, as I say, about using this sort of wire is that you can sort of squish it down the length of the... So if you do have a little gap, you can always just go like that. Okay, so we're probably ready, almost ready for another bead now. I'll give it a couple more. Okay, so this time I might just put one of our small beads, which are running away from me as we speak. Okay, so I might just put one small bead on this time, so I'm just going to thread that on. You can see I'm being quite random. There's really no right or wrong to this at all, and we're not being precise at all. We're just stopping basically when we feel like we've got a good enough gap between this bead and the last bead, and then we're starting again. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to add another length of wire now. I'm going to continue doing that until I just get to the top. So what we might do is pause here, and we'll come back when we're finished. Okay, welcome back. So you can see I've just carried on until I've gotten, say, about an inch from the top, and I'm going to use this section of the wire which doesn't have any of the 26 gauge wire coiled around it to create our loop, so that we've got something to fit our earring hook through. So I'm going to do that just by placing my wires close to the coiled wire, but I want a couple of millimeters spare there, and I'm just going to bend this, the wire, the thick wire, around my pliers. It can be a little bit difficult to create loops with this sort of wire, but it certainly can be done. So I'm just going to bend it round. Okay, so I might just cut that off there because we've got a loop in the top there now. Okay, so we're going to use that to thread our earring hook through. Just going to make sure that that's flush by bending my wire down. There we go. Now, to get this, you could leave it straight if you wanted to. These do, I should say, create some quite long earrings, so you could make them shorter, you could bend them into a circle. But what I'm going to do, because I'm going to replicate what I did with this one here, I'm going to just sort of bend it, and I'm not following any particular pattern or anything like that. I'm just using my fingers to put little bends in it to create these sort of curved shapes. So fairly random. There we go. Just make sure our loop is facing the top. So that's the sort of shape we can do. I've probably put a bit more of a bend in it than I did in the other one, so I might as well just put that one up as well. Okay, so we'll just attach our earring hook, and all we need to do is open our loop, thread it through our main structure, close that off, and there we go. There's our snaky, coily earrings. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you have fun making them. Thanks, everyone.